and by city council I mean mostly myself, but with some help, have been doing an overall look at the penal code, balancing of different charges based on what's been happening in the city. So you'll see a redistribution of times and fines for a varied number of crimes. I think on a short list, things that have been affected will be things to do with marijuana, money laundering, felony hit and run. I think specifically, you'll see differences when it comes to um, issues to deal with PD. So getting shot, robbed. We've split up some of the possessions that you guys have. So I believe there's a new charge. I don't remember exactly what the fuck it's called. Basically, instead of government issued equipment, there's a secondary charge now. So the items within government issued equipment have been split up. So instead of just government issued equipment, there is now possession of government issued equipment. And then there is a secondary charge called criminal possession of government issued dangerous and or combat purposed equipment. So
That was a lot
things
of words.
like, yeah. So things
What
like,
was it again? I'm sorry. I'm just trying to write all this down.
Criminal possession of government issued dangerous and or combat purposed equipment.
What did I miss?
I see.
For example, you have the original charge, which has things like taser cartridges, IFAKs, PD watches and compass, flashlights, radios, cameras, binoculars, all that little stuff, right? Badges, barriers, tourniquet. And then you have a much higher penalty charge that has to do with things like firearm magazines, ammo, PD armor vests, armor plates, spike strips. And it specifically designates that if the suspect is found in possession of a PD firearm, they should not be charged separately for the magazines and ammo. On top of that, like I said, felony hit and run was changed. I'm going through my list, so bear with me. Redistribution on possession of government issued firearm. Basically, we found that people really only care about their bank accounts, and the amount of people we see committing crimes with high amounts of assets is continuing to skyrocket. So they're getting hit where it hurts. Let's see here. Marijuana, like I said, has been redistributed. We've seen a lot of presence of that drug being distributed everywhere, so that's being changed a little bit. We are discussing right now federal minimums for drug trafficking. Those may be released in the coming weeks. We are seeing our first couple of cases thus far come through both the court systems and your processing the incident report for drug trafficking. So we're working at reevaluating whether we need to bring back the minimums that we used to have or they need to be rescaled or whatever. Go ahead with your question.
I'm sorry. Not that anything is set in stone and I know it's like subject to change. Would you be able to get in contact with me with just like a rough list of some of the charges so I can kind of relay that to command so we can get like an announcement out?
There's only one charge that's been added. Besides that, it's literally just redistribution times and fines. So you'll just be able to review. The only charge added was the split between the two government issued equipment charges. This is basically, I've announced this at the city council meeting going on probably a month now. I've been tinkering with this and sort of formulating an overhaul on a lot of these charges. So this is the culmination of that effort after discussion with various folks. So things have been redistributed. Other examples of things you may notice being a little different will be something like embezzlement. This charge now also includes the person being accountable for the amount embezzled. So, and also inability to pay off said embezzlement will not absolve someone of the debt. So if you embezzle 100 grand and you got 5 grand in your bank account because you stashed the money somewhere, you're getting billed into the negative because it's getting its money back.
Gotcha.
Let's see what else. money laundering, the financial penalty on that has been increased. First degree robbery penalty has been increased. There was some redistribution on kidnapping and robbing of a government employee. So the actions themselves have been neutered compared to the things that are most focused or the dangerous items, right? Hence the government issued equipment being split out into dangerous and not. That's something we've been tinkering with for a while. There may be some changes to it. It's not perfect. It's what sort of has been come up with at this point. So let us know how that functions in the field.
Do you want us to try and write feedback for you about that, or just get in contact with a judge about that, or how do you want us to provide
Just in
feedback?
general, judges is fine. They can send it the chain to me.
Gotcha.
Attempted murder government employee has been rescaled a little bit. We've been seeing a lot more cop shootings. What else? Gang-related shooting is being looked at. I know you guys are still in your infancy in terms of profiling the different groups in the city. But we haven't seen that charge been used pretty much ever, even though I've been seeing personally when I review incident reports, I've been seeing a lot of incidents that to me seem like gang-related shootings, including you guys tagging them with like different groups and things like that. So I'm not sure if it's just you guys feel you're unable to meet the burden of the charge or what's going on, but interested to hear what's going on with that charge.
I could speak about that real quick. We just had an incident yesterday regarding it.
All right.
We had two groups that were going at it. It's pretty easy on the, avoiding paper, just looking at it with the naked eye, that it was two groups with an altercation. However, when we looked at the people who were sort of going at each other, all the people that were going at each other's throats were at one point in one group, and now some of them are against each other, and there wasn't an established pattern of behavior from either side to say and or prove if they were technically two separate groups at that time. And because there was no history of documentation of the group and or any history of them fighting or having altercations with other groups, outside of trying to get the admission side, the second prong there to gang related, we attempted to try and make contact and no one wanted to speak with us. So we figured the best option was to proceed forward with at least creating the pattern now and documenting the names that we had.
So I want to caution you, because it sounded like you were saying there you didn't have a pattern of them like attacking each other or whatever. So the pattern does not need to be association and participation in felonious activity related to gang related conflict. The pattern just needs to be felonious activity.
Crime together.
So that could be like, they robbed the laundromat together, or they, deal drugs together, right? It says criminal street gang is defined as an ongoing group, club, or organization which has a primary purpose of the commission of criminal offenses, or the members of which over the last 30 days have engaged in a continuing or ongoing series of felony offenses. So really the idea here is that you should, if you have people that are being found constantly arrested together or have been found, committing felonies together, whether this is a larger group or small breakout groups or whatever, the articulation should stem from those incidents. So you should basically, if you're going to try to push gang-related shooting, you'd be going to court and saying, hey, look, the reason why we know these guys are a group is because of this. We've seen them get arrested robbing the laundromat together, the cash exchange, when they, when we were chasing this car from a suspicious financial activity call, the same people were arrested obstructing. This is a pattern of them engaging in felonies together, right? And then so it's like we had this group of people who we know roughly commit felonies together, and then we had this other group of people who we know roughly commit felonies together, and they got in a big gunfight. So that should be sort of your roadmap for gang-related shooting.
That's fair. So based on, we've dealt with one of these, and it was yesterday. It was the first one we've dealt with. And Pinzone might actually have a little bit more context on this, but I think the primary issue we dealt with yesterday was that this was one group. at one point. Would it still fall under gang related, even if we can't prove if they're split at that point?
I don't know. That's unique. Maybe that one you don't have enough yet. What I'm just referring to is, I don't think I've really seen it ever.
I gotcha. Okay.
And I know for a fact from reading incident reports that there's been some gang conflicts that y'all are pretty confident you know who the groups are.
We have tried to push it before. We went to bench trial trying to push it previously. Pinzone, I believe, would know about this as well.
Sorry,
It was the Saints and I don't remember who.
Saints and not Hydra.
So basically what I was telling Flop as you're walking in is if you really are careful about how you read gang related shooting, the way you prove that they're gang related or the shooting was gang related is because it's two groups going against each other. And the way you prove that someone's in a group together is by a pattern of association. And that could be from other felonies unrelated to violence. So it could be you catch them selling drugs together, or obstructing from 37 Charlie calls, or robbing the laundromat together, or the cash exchange, or whatever, right? So you basically, if you're trying to go to a bench trial and you're trying to prove gang related shooting, you would basically want to cite, hey, look, I know these guys are in a group because they've been arrested together, 5 times in the last month committing robberies, or every time we chase this car registered to this person, all of a sudden these people get arrested for obstruction, right? It's like you just draw any kind of association related to felony activity.
Okay, so would you say, I mean, the common rule of thumb is 3 is a pattern. So would you say, let's say hypothetically, all right, Miguel Almirion and Denji Kaido, they're seen doing, one's a cash exchange, one's a laundromat, and then one's a money run or whatever, right?
I feel like that would be a pretty fair argument that those guys are associated.
But then, so the question is, let's say it's 6 people, and then there's like one guy that maybe they just they're like a flown in shooter type thing.
So this used to happen all the time. And I used to tell the cops, people like claiming their set, go in the cells, say, butter them up. So what do you just prospect? You'll pussyfoot. They don't let you handle the money yet. When you get blooded in, stuff like that.
I'm going to be honest, Crane, we have done that in certain occasions. They genuinely just say we're not in a gang, or
that's fine.
After Kissy said we're not in a gang, Twitter not a gang.
If you're not able to prove all of them, that's fine. But like Pinzone said, if you got 4 of the 6 routinely being involved in arrests together, then push it on those 4.
100%.
Yeah.
Then push it on those 4, and say, you know what, we're pretty sure this guy is, but we can't prove it right now, so we'll just keep tabs on him. We'll keep a note on his profile, and when we're confident that we can, then we'll tag him as gang affiliated.
Okay, so then let's say I'm trying to think of how to word this. Okay, so let's say we have a little shootout between 2 people, and it's a typical gang fight, right? 3 cars, whatever. Let's say hypothetically all 6 go down each other. It's a draw, right? And we come in, and let's say we have definitive proof that they are good for gang related shooting, but we never seen the gang before. Like 2 new gangs fight, right? What would the charge be? Because I've just been hitting people with second attempted degree murder, and then kind of being like, well, it's probably six attempted second degree murders, and then the other group gets 6 attempted, for example, right?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends what you can articulate, right? It could stem anywhere from criminal use if you have nothing but GSR positive and no proof that this guy shot at that guy or the other thing, and sees possessions, charged for those, or all the way up to, attempted second degree murder. Let's say you see someone get out of a car and start blasting somebody in front of you, right?
Yeah,
it's a sliding scale. But what I'm saying is I think y'all should focus on the language in gang related shooting, and focus on trying to prove those patterns of association by felonious activity. And maybe that should be I'm not telling you how to do your job in terms of the tagging, but in terms of how you could articulate it in court. If you came to us and said, Well, if you look at, this person, they're tagged up as gang affiliate with this group. And the reason why we tag them as such is because we have this pattern of felonious activity where they're acting together. So we know that over the last month, these guys have done like 4 or 5 heists together that we've caught them for, or, obstructing with each other or selling drugs or whatever it is, right? So I would focus on things like that. And, and the more people you can get, with those associations, the more people you get tagged up, the easier it will be on future scenes. And it'll be constantly evolving. It's never going to be perfect, right? There's going to be new people coming in and out of groups. There's going to be new people you can't prove anything on.
Yeah.
5 or 6 years ago, we were, 1 or 2 years deep on establishing investigations into gangs, and there's still people every day that would pop up who, you never heard of, or, were wearing green, but, didn't call themselves GSF yet, or, vice versa with Ballas or whatever, right? The other thing, Pinzone and Flop took some notes, so I won't belabor the point. There are a lot of charges that have been redistributed in terms of times and fines, as well as, just overall, sort of an adjustment on the penal code. It's been in progress for the last month or so. So some of them may not be very apparent. Some of them might be pretty small adjustments. Some of them might be large ones. You'll just get a feel for it as you sort of go through the charges and review them. That being said, there is one charge that PD really needs to know about, and that is we have split out the possession of government issued equipment. So now there is a criminal possession of government issued equipment, which is kind of for the rinky dink shit. So like taser cartridges, taser darts, IFAKs, PD watch, compass, flashlight, radio, GoPixel, binoculars, scuba, DNA swabs, PD badge, PD barriers, and tourniquets. And then the other one is now called criminal possession of government issued dangerous and or combat purposed equipment. So this is a much heftier charge. For example, the rinky one is like 15 months, $3,000. This one's like 15 months, $40,000. And the government issued and or combat purchased equipment is related to your like Glock magazines and ammo, armor vests, armor plates, and spike strips. Now, with the high fine on this, we're not trying to have you guys stack these. So if someone gets found with a PD Glock, you're obviously not charging them separately for like the magazines and, the ammo. Use your brains, right? The guy has a PD armor vest and 6 plates. Don't charge them independently for each plate, right?
Of course.
Just hit them with the charge, right? If they got spike strips, hit them with the charge, right? Just, once, just be conscious about using this correctly.
Okay. Wait, so would the issue dangerous and combat purpose, that's armor as well, right? Yeah, I'm just asking,
armor vest, armor plates, spike strips, PD magazines and ammo.
And the taser itself is included in the regular charge.
It's a government issued taser / baton. That has a slightly higher time and sort of a middling fine. Tasers and batons are, roughly equivalent to things that are available.
So just to make sure, is if someone has a gun and then has armor, that's
if it's a gun and armor, those are 2 separate charges.
Okay.
But if you have a gun and then magazines, you shouldn't be stacking that.
Yeah, because that falls into firearm.
Because it's just the gun, right?
Yeah, okay.
Just because you have the extra magazines doesn't make it separate. Same thing with if you have the armor vest, having the extra plates doesn't make it separate. It should be wrapped up.
Yeah.
But if you've got, let's say, a PD Glock and a PD armor vest with a bunch of plates, then you should get both the dangerous equipment and the government issued firearm.
Gotcha.
Wait, what? PD armor vest, plates, and the Glock. You're gonna get both, or just the?
You would get both because you have the Glock. Basically, the firearm charge is only for the gun. The criminal possession of government issued dangerous shit is whenever that criminal comes up and he says, "Give me your armor, bruh." That's what it's for. Okay, that's why I'm not wrong when I say that, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
It's common sense, right? If someone has a PD Glock, we're not hitting him with the equipment charge because they have a couple extra magazines with the Glock.
question.
But if they
would-
have a PD Glock and then they also have a PD armor vest, those are two separate charges.
Okay, question, and want to ask, what about armor plates? Are they considered illegal, not illegal? Because
So
I remember
I
hearing
am
about the.
I am talking to the folks from the armory to make sure that the plates that y'all are issued are stamped with like a government logo on them, so they're identifiable as such. So that way, let's say if someone doesn't have the vest on them but steals the PD armor plates, there is a way that we can track that being issued from the armory. Because the way the charge is stated is that it has to be provable that the only place to get them is from the armory. And so
Yeah,
right now, I'm
technically
not sure
armor,
that's achievable if they didn't have the vest with them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that is being discussed and worked on.
gotcha.
Damn. I kind of want to see someone Sarabi now.
Yeah.
They
so
probably will anyway.
well, and we've seen a heightened amount of cop shootings. So there's been some redistribution there. So we'll see what the deterrent effect is, and we'll move on. It's ever evolving. So if y'all feel that there are things that are especially active or are especially prolific, then you should bring that to your PD liaison and say, hey, look, I go on duty every day, and every day, this and this happens. These are the biggest things I see. People are willing to die to get away from doing this crime. They're willing to die to secure this, loot or whatever. This is something that really needs to be looked at, right? What are you guys getting shot over? What's what's like the high target? What are the high value robberies? What are people going to war over? Is it turf for selling drugs? Is it distribution of firearms? What is it, right? And then run that up the chain to us, and then we can actually implement sort of reactive procedures to what's going on around us.
Would
Gotcha.
a turbo fall into that $3,125 fine one? Oh no, it's not government.
No, that's
issued.
the larceny of aftermarket
Yeah.
motor vehicle equipment. There's a specific charge for that
Okay.
Cornwood and some others have pushed.
All right.
Yeah, that's about it. If you guys have any questions about the charges or suggestions, like I said, run them through the PD liaison. He can bring them to Orshi. If Cornwood does win sheriff, obviously he would no longer be liaison, as high command cannot serve on the council. So yeah.
Will there be another election for PD liaison?
If Cornwood is to become high command, then yes, there would be a special election.
Oh. Look at
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Wait. So so it's official. High command cannot be.
High command of any department cannot be on the council. So, for example, right now, the way we have it set up, if you run for head of bar as a judge, you cannot, you cannot remain a judge. You must demote yourself to attorney to be able to serve as head of bar. If you are running for the healthcare liaison position, you are on the board of the hospital. You must retire from the board and demote yourself to what would be their command equivalent, which is an attending, for example. If the list goes on, you get the idea.
Yeah.
The only obvious exception to that is my position, but I mostly am like a steward of the council. I try to drive, less of my ideas in terms of suggestions and more of just, facilitating the process. So yeah, there may be a special election if Cornwood were to win a high command position as a